Hey, good to see you back. Fair warning, these stories get under your skin. Real people, real situations, and no clean endings. Subscribe if that's your kind of thing, and let's get started. I picked up a hitchhiker who knew my mom's maiden name. That detail changed everything. This is one of those stories that starts as a normal day and ends with you second-guessing every interaction you've had in the past month. I picked up a hitchhiker on Highway 95 about a week ago. I know that sounds like the setup to something bad, but honestly, I try to help people out when I can. The guy was standing at a rest stop, thumb out, and he didn't seem sketchy, just tired, clean clothes. We made small talk when he got in. Where was he headed? Where was I going? That kind of thing. It was casual, normal highway conversation. He seemed fine. Quiet, but fine. After about 10 minutes of driving, he said something that made my stomach drop. Out of nowhere, he goes, "Your mom's Sinclair, right? That's a tough name to carry." I froze. Just completely froze. My hands tightened on the wheel. "How do you know that?" I asked him. My voice came out way more tense than I meant it to. He didn't answer right away. He just looked at me like it was obvious, like it was something I should know he knew. "Lucky guess," he said finally. Then he turned and looked out the window. That was it. He didn't explain, didn't apologize, just silence. I never told him my mom's maiden name. I hadn't even mentioned my mom at all. We'd talked about the weather, where I was headed, traffic, nothing personal. Nothing that would give away a family name like Sinclair. It's not common. It's not something you just guess. I wanted to ask more questions, but something in the way he said it made me feel like I shouldn't. Like asking would make things worse. So I didn't. I just drove the rest of the way in silence, dropping him off at a shopping center on the edge of town. He thanked me politely, grabbed his bag, and got out without another word. I didn't wait to see him leave. I just drove home with my hands shaking. When he got out of the car, I thought that was it. Just a weird interaction, something to tell friends about as a funny story later. But then I got home. I sat in my driveway for 10 minutes before going inside. And then I looked at my phone. And that's when I realized this wasn't just weird. It was something else entirely. So now OP's stomach is dropping. A complete stranger just casually mentioned his mother's maiden name. Information he never shared, never posted, never said out loud to this guy. His first instinct is logic. There has to be an explanation. He just needs to find it. I tried to keep my voice steady. "How do you know that?" He smiled like I'd asked something obvious. "Your mom's Sinclair, right? That name stuck with me." I remember things. That's all he said. Like that explained anything. I pressed harder. Did we know each other? Did I know him from school or online or... He just laughed. "Relax, man. You'll figure it out." Figure what out? My mind was racing through possibilities. Facebook? Old classmate? Did he work with my mom? But his answers weren't answers. He just deflected, kept saying I'd understand eventually, like he was holding all the cards. And the way he looked at me, like he knew something I didn't, and he was enjoying watching me squirm about it. We still had another 20 minutes before my exit. 20 minutes of him glancing over at me with that same knowing expression. The car felt like it was shrinking. I stared out the window, jaw clenched, running through scenarios in my head, none of them good. When we finally hit my stop, I grabbed my backpack and thanked him through the window, pure reflex. He just nodded, smiled that same smile, and didn't say a word as I got out. But the moment OP closes that car door, everything shifts. He stands there for a moment, watching the car disappear down the road. His hands are shaking. The adrenaline is still spiking, but underneath it, something worse is creeping in. Dread. A sick, cold feeling that he's just missed something huge. He walks to his car and sits in the driver's seat. 10 minutes pass. He doesn't turn the key. He just sits there, hands gripping the wheel, replaying the conversation over and over. How does this person know his mother's name? And why won't he just say it? That night, after dropping the hitchhiker off, OP's phone became an obsession. I couldn't stop thinking about what he'd said. My mom's maiden name. Sinclair. I'd never mentioned it to him. So I sat at home, going through my phone like some kind of detective, looking for a logical explanation. A mutual friend on Facebook, something. I scrolled through my photos, and that's when I stopped breathing. I found them. Selfies I'd taken. Absolutely did not remember taking. But they were there. Time-stamped. Going back 3 weeks. And in every single one, without fail, the same man. Beige jacket. Sometimes just a blur in the corner of the shot. Sometimes clearer than others. But always there, in the background, watching the camera. Or maybe watching me. I went through all of them twice. 14 selfies over 3 weeks. That's not an accident. That's not a coincidence. That means he was already in my life when I picked him up on the highway. He was already taking photos with me in them. Photos I didn't remember. Photos my own phone was taking. I couldn't remember any of those moments, not a single one. The comments came flooding in almost instantly, and they didn't help. The maiden name detail is the key. He was showing you he knows things about your family. He was establishing that he has information. This was a message disguised as casual conversation. This is genuinely one of the most disturbing things I've read. The missing photos are the scariest part. That's not normal stalking, that's something worse. Please get drug tested and install security cameras immediately. I need an update on this immediately. A random hitchhiker doesn't do this without reason. What does your family do? Who are they? This feels calculated, like he was testing something. 3 days later, OP posted an update. He showed up at my apartment building and I finally got his license plate. So it happened. I was leaving for work this morning when I saw him. The same man from all those photos. Just standing across the street from my apartment building, watching. Same beige jacket. My hands started shaking before my brain even caught up to what I was seeing. I called the police immediately. He took off the moment he saw me pull out my phone, but I got his license plate. The officer who took my report said they can run it, but without a direct threat or physical contact, everything moves slowly. About the 14 photos, I've analyzed every single one obsessively over 72 hours. Same man, every picture, spanning 3 weeks. Some shots he's blurry in the distance, some he's closer, but it's unmistakably him. And I have zero memory of taking any of them. Not one. Apple ran full diagnostics on my phone. Zero signs of tampering, no malware, no unauthorized access of any kind. It's like I genuinely took these photos myself and completely forgot. File the complete police report. Detective told me it's legally complicated because he hasn't technically committed a crime yet. No direct contact, no explicit threat, no trespassing. But apparently my photos and his appearance at my building give them something to work with to run the plate. And immediately, the comment section filled with people who'd been through similar horrors. The fact that you have no memory of taking those photos is what would make me call a neurologist first, police second. That's not normal. Have you had any head injuries or blackouts? This, exactly. Memory blackouts combined with phone activity is a medical emergency before it's a police report. If someone's drugging her, that's a completely different level of crime. She needs blood work and a full medical evaluation immediately. How would someone even get that kind of access to your phone? Adding photos with real timestamps requires either physical access or compromise of your entire device. This is beyond typical stalking. The next 72 hours, OP didn't leave the apartment alone. Not once. Then, something changed. He showed up at my apartment building, and I finally got his license plate. I know this might sound paranoid, but I haven't left my place alone since I got back from the police station. My roommate has been staying close, and honestly, I've been too scared to ask why. Tuesday evening, I was on the fire escape. My roommate was inside, and I saw him. Same beige jacket, same guy from the photos, standing across the street, just watching the building entrance. I grabbed my phone like I wasn't shaking, took 3 photos, and when he realized I'd spotted him, he walked to a gray sedan parked 2 blocks down. I got the plate. Gave it to the detective immediately. She said they're running it now. I don't know what comes next, but at least I'm not crazy. At least there's proof he was there. That's something. The comment that hit hardest came from someone who understood the tactical angle. Pull your Google Maps location history and see if there's a pattern of another phone or device near you on those dates. Also, get a lawyer before talking to police again. I hadn't even thought of that. Started pulling everything once I got a lawyer involved. The results were a lot. Multiple devices over weeks. 3 different timelines that overlap perfectly with when he was watching me. The detective is working on identifying them. Thanks for the practical angle on this. I think everyone was focused on the stalking part and not the methodology. What stayed with OP wasn't the identification, wasn't even the confirmation that someone had infiltrated their space. It was the missing time, the blank spots, the selfies they took and don't remember taking, your own phone recording moments you can't account for, your own memories colonized by someone else's presence. You think you're alone in your house, in your car, taking a picture, and you're not. You were never alone. And you'll never know when you were being watched or how deep it went. That's the real horror. That's what doesn't leave. On to the next one. I'm in the guy at my gym has memorized my entire routine down to the minute. Now he's following me everywhere, and I'm terrified. Here's a story about surveillance that hides in routine, about a place that's supposed to be a sanctuary becoming something sinister. I've been going to Meridian Fitness for almost 2 years now. Routine is the one thing in my life I can actually control. Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday mornings, 6:15 a.m. sharp, no exceptions. 10 minutes on the elliptical to warm up, then 45 minutes on weights. I rotate between chest and back, legs and shoulders depending on the day, and finish with 15 minutes on the rowing machine. Always the same order, always the same timing. It's meditative. Around 3 months ago, I started noticing him. Guy in his mid-30s, lean, dark hair, always in the same gray athletic wear. At first I thought nothing of it. Gyms have regulars. But then something started feeling profoundly off. The way he moved through the space, where he positioned himself, how he watched me specifically. He'd stand where he could see me directly. He'd adjust his position constantly, like he was tracking which angle gave him the best view. He was never directly close, never approached, never spoke. But I began to realize he knew my routine down to the minute. He'd be on the machine next to me without fail. He'd adjust his own workout to match mine exactly. He knew when I was finishing the elliptical so he could position himself by the weights. He'd time his own cardio to overlap with mine. After a month, I was absolutely certain it wasn't coincidence anymore. So I tested it. On my next Tuesday, I came in at 6:30 instead of 6:15, deliberately 15 minutes late, a time I'd never arrived before. He was waiting. He was literally standing by the elliptical machine at 6:30, doing absolutely nothing but standing there, and the second he saw me walk in, he moved into position. That's when I knew something was genuinely, seriously wrong. The test was confirmation. He knew her schedule so precisely that changing it by 15 minutes made no difference. He was waiting. But the question that started eating at her was bigger. If he'd memorized her gym routine this completely, what else did he know? Because surveillance like this doesn't stay contained. But the real problem wasn't what he was doing at the gym, it was what he knew about everything else. The first time I talked to him was a Wednesday. He was by the fountain, too close. He asked what I was working on. I said shoulders. He nodded and said, "Oh, I thought so. You usually do shoulders on Wednesdays." My stomach dropped. I haven't been talking to anyone at this gym, but he'd been watching my pattern. 2 days later, I'm at the grocery store, the one 2 miles from my apartment that I go to every Sunday, and I see him. Gray athletic wear, dark hair. Our eyes meet. He doesn't smile, just nods. Like he's saying, "I know you. I know where you shop." I went to a different store across town the next week. He wasn't there. But the following Sunday I went back, and there he was. Same section, same time. That's when I understood. He wasn't just monitoring the gym. He knew my entire schedule. Where I worked, where I shopped, the days, the times, everything. And the scariest part was figuring out how long he'd actually been doing this. How much he'd studied before I even noticed him. How every single schedule, the gym, the grocery store, my apartment building, fit together like puzzle pieces in his mind. So the next thing I did was document it all. I wrote down every encounter I could remember, every location, the way he positioned himself, the way he looked at me. And I was about to do something I hadn't expected. Go to the gym management and report him. 3 weeks in, she'd moved past denial. I created a spreadsheet. 3 weeks of pure documentation. The exact times, which machines he used, where he positioned himself, When I was on the elliptical, he'd appear on the cardio machine next to me. When I moved to the weights, he drifted to that section. When I switched to the rowing machine, he found something to do nearby. The pattern was mechanical, machine by machine, day by day, no variation, no room for coincidence. I finally found the courage to talk to the gym manager on a Thursday. I printed out my spreadsheet. I explained, calmly, factually, what had been happening. I expected her to take it seriously. Instead, she told me, lots of guys have regular routines. Maybe we just liked the same times. She suggested I try coming in at different hours, as if destroying my only stability was a reasonable solution. When I mentioned he'd changed his entire schedule to match mine, she said that was probably coincidence. She called me paranoid without using that word. She said he'd never done anything to anyone else. She said she couldn't do anything unless he actually did something. I left feeling invisible and wrong. The comment section understood what the gym never would. The fact that he joined the gym the day after you did 2 years ago? That's not coincidence. That's deliberate premeditation. You need to file a police report because this is textbook stalking and you need legal protection. My ex did similar things, not as obvious, but the same predatory energy. Started with coincidental timing, escalated to work. It's about control and ownership. He's not interested in you romantically. He's interested in owning your patterns. Keep documenting and don't stop. Has he tried to contact you directly since the confrontation? DMs, calls, anything? Or was it purely passive observation the whole time? No direct contact at all, which the police officer said actually makes it worse. She explained that he wasn't trying to communicate, he was studying me. The passive observation, combined with systematic tracking, shows he was gathering information. She wouldn't tell me what for, but I don't want to know. That was the moment the fear became concrete. 3 days later, OP posted an update. I confronted the gym stalker and found out he joined the day after I did. I didn't expect to update so soon, but here we are. Yesterday, I got a DM from a woman who uses the gym. She'd seen my post and said this same guy was doing the exact same thing to her at a different gym across town, Pinnacle Fitness. Same routine, watching her, positioning himself. She even noticed him following her to her car. I reported it to my police officer. He pulled the membership records from both gyms. Derek joined Meridian the day after I did. The day after. For 1.5 years, he'd been there because I was there. The officer told me I had to confront Derek myself first before it could legally count as stalking. He stayed nearby but out of sight. Derek was in his usual spot when I walked in. I told him he needed to stop following me, that I knew about Pinnacle, that the police were involved. And he just smiled. Not like he was caught, not angry or defensive. He smiled like he was amused, like we were sharing something. That smile made my skin crawl. The comment section erupted. That smile after you reported him made me genuinely nauseous. That's the smile of someone who knows exactly what they're doing and doesn't believe there will be consequences. Please prioritize getting that restraining order. Change everything about your routine. This escalates. Did the gym manager ever apologize for not taking your initial report seriously? Not immediately, but they apologized after the police report came through. The manager admitted they're not trained to recognize pattern-matching behavior versus actual threats. The police officer explained why this mattered legally. I had to directly tell him to stop first. Once he's warned and continues, it becomes criminal stalking. The law actually worked in her favor here. When he said, "You're overreacting," that's classic gaslighting and minimization from someone who knows exactly what they did. Stalkers depend on victims doubting themselves and feeling crazy. You're not overreacting. Your instincts saved you from something worse. So here's where things landed. With Tasha standing there as a witness and my footage in hand, I went to the gym manager. I confronted the gym stalker and found out he joined the day after I did. I printed out everything and walked into the gym manager's office on Thursday afternoon. Tasha came with me. When I laid out the documentation, the behavior logs, the location tracking, the Instagram burner account, the manager's face went pale. But here's the worst part. When I told them about the guy, they brought him in. I watched him walk past the glass walls of the office. He saw me. He smiled. Not nervously, not apologetically. He smiled like he'd been waiting for this moment, like being caught was part of whatever game he was playing. The manager told him he was being terminated, effective immediately. His response was calm, too calm. "I know her schedule better than she does," he said. That's when I realized this wasn't some misguided crush. This was methodical. The police pulled his membership records, and I found out the truth. He joined the gym exactly 1 day after I signed up. 2 years of following me, 2 years of timing, 2 years of being studied like I was his life's work. The protective order was filed 3 days later. The comment section picked up on what bothered me most: the sophistication of it all. The Instagram burner account with no posts, just following fitness accounts and people. He's done this before. The sophistication of his stalking, online plus in-person plus behavior mirroring, suggests experience. Has the police mentioned whether he has prior incidents? This is organized. He knows your school. He knows your teaching schedule now. He's been to your coffee shop where you work. Your workplace is part of his documented pattern. Does your school have a security office? They need to know a known stalker has location intel on you. What stuck with me when I read that was the weight of being known like that, being systematically mapped out. Even with the protective order, even with termination and police involvement, there's this thing that doesn't go away. The knowledge that someone spent 2 years learning you. And now you have to learn to live differently. That's the other half of the story nobody talks about. On to the next one. My boyfriend, 28 male, ignored my safe word and then told me he's been thinking about killing me. I'm terrified. This post dropped 3 days ago on a throwaway account. The title isn't burying the lead, it's the entire story. And honestly, the content that follows is even more alarming than those first few sentences suggest. It's the kind of post where you need a moment to process what you just read. I'm 24 years old and I've been with my boyfriend Mark for almost 2 years now. He's 28, works in tech, and on paper, he's everything I thought I wanted. We've always had an active sex life, and early on we discovered we both enjoyed BDSM elements. Nothing extreme or dangerous, just roleplay and light restraint. We were thoughtful about it. We established safe words within the first month of exploring together. The rule was crystal clear. A safe word means stop immediately. No negotiation, no just a second, no continuation. That was always his rule too. I didn't have to push for it. Last week, something happened during what was supposed to be a routine, intimate moment. I used my safe word, clearly. I made eye contact and said it. And he didn't stop. He kept going for maybe another minute. When we finally stopped, I couldn't even process what had happened. I said, "You didn't stop." And he shrugged, like it was nothing. He said sometimes when he's caught up in the moment, he forgets the rule. That was lie number 1. The worst part came after. We were lying there and he just casually said, "I've been thinking about killing you." Not as a joke, just said it like he was commenting on the weather. I asked what he meant and he said he has intrusive thoughts sometimes, but he didn't mean anything by it. He said it like that made it okay. It didn't. But here's what strikes you immediately. He ignored the safe word despite their explicit agreement. And then he casually mentioned thinking about killing her. Those aren't two separate issues in her mind. They feel connected, and reading this post, you understand exactly why. It's the combination that matters. What happened next is where everything truly fell apart. I said our safe word. I said it clearly, making eye contact with him, and he just kept going. I said it again, louder. He didn't stop. I said it a third time, and he only held me tighter. I was completely frozen. This wasn't supposed to happen. We had built rules around this, explicit rules. He was the one who had insisted on them. The safe word was absolute, non-negotiable. Afterwards, when it finally ended, I just lay there shaking. This dread crept up my spine that I couldn't even name yet. Mark was completely normal, as if nothing unusual had happened. He kissed my forehead like everything was fine, and somehow that casual tenderness was almost worse than the violation itself. The whiplash of it scrambled my nervous system. But then, he said something that changed everything. He was lying next to me, completely relaxed, and he said it like he was commenting on the weather. I've been having these intrusive thoughts, really dark ones. Sometimes I think about killing you. What she'd heard in his casual tone couldn't be unheard. It lingered in her mind like poison, like something alive in the dark. She tried to convince herself that maybe he was joking, that this was part of some twisted role play he hadn't properly introduced. But nothing in his delivery suggested he was being playful. He'd said it like he was commenting on the weather, like the thought of killing her was just something that lived in his head alongside other mundane observations. And she understood, lying there next to him in the darkness, that she had no idea who this man actually was. The boyfriend she thought she knew, the one who made the rules about safe words, that person had been a stranger all along, just in a different way than she was realizing now. Sleep was not going to happen that night. He had explanations, intrusive thoughts, he kept saying, caught up in the moment. For days, he offered them to me like they explained anything. When you're caught up in a moment, you lose track of things. Time blurs, sensations blur. But he didn't lose track of my face. His eyes tracked to mine when I said my safe word the first time. His body didn't slow down. His pace didn't change. I said it again, louder. Still nothing. I had to physically push back against him to make him stop. That's not being caught up in a moment. That's a deliberate choice, and he made it while watching my face. And then, the killing thoughts. He brought them up so casually afterward, like he was mentioning the weather, just floating them out there. The more I sit with it, the more I can't separate them in my mind. The safe word violation and the casual death threat. They're connected, aren't they? Control. Complete and utter control. Over my body, over my life, over my fear. That's what links them together. The safe word violation and the murder thoughts aren't two separate problems. They're the same person showing me what he thinks he's entitled to do, and apparently that entitlement goes all the way to whether I live or die. The comment section wasn't kind. I need to understand exactly what happened when you said the safe word. Did he look confused, or did you have the clear sense that he heard you and chose to ignore you anyway? He heard me. I made direct eye contact specifically to watch for his reaction. When I said it the first time, I watched his eyes. They tracked to mine. His body didn't slow. Nothing changed. I said it again, louder, and again, nothing. His pace was exactly the same. It was only when I literally pushed back against him that he stopped. And I think this is the part that keeps me up at night. He didn't apologize. He didn't seem surprised. It was like I'd done exactly what he expected, and he was ready with an explanation about getting caught up. But you don't get caught up so much that you ignore your partner's face, her voice, and her explicit rejection of what's happening. That's not getting caught up. That's a decision. The intrusive thoughts excuse is manipulative, and I need you to understand that. If he truly had unwanted thoughts about killing that distressed him, he wouldn't bring them up casually after violating you. He'd be apologizing for the assault. The fact that he mentioned it so calmly means he either doesn't see the assault as a problem, or he was using it to intimidate you. Every comment hit the same nerve, and she felt it too. 5 days went by. OP24 female posted again. I left, and I'm at my sister's. I finally told someone what happened. I've been staying with my sister Sarah for 5 days now. When I told Mark I was leaving, he didn't fight it. He didn't ask questions. He just said, okay, and went back to his phone. That moment felt worse than the violation itself. Like what happened didn't matter enough to him to even try to keep me. I drove to Sarah's in a haze, and for the first time since it happened, I said it out loud to another person. He didn't stop when I said the safe word. And then he said he's been thinking about killing me. The second the words left my mouth, I felt the ground shift. Not because Sarah was shocked, but because saying it out loud made it real. I can't unsee his face. I can't unhear the casual tone. And I'm terrified that at some point, I'm going to convince myself it wasn't as bad as I remember, and I'll give him another chance. The comment section lit up. I work in domestic violence, and I need to be very clear. The escalation pattern you're describing is textbook. The boundary violation followed immediately by threats is him testing you. He's showing you that he can do what he wants and you don't get a say. That's the exact pattern that precedes serious violence. The combination of sexual assault and expressed homicidal ideation is not a coincidence. This is an escalation pattern, and it's dangerous. Exactly right. And the timing is key. He assaults her, and then within minutes he's talking about killing. He might be testing whether she'll stay after he's shown her he can violate her completely. He might be establishing dominance. All of those interpretations point to the same conclusion. She needs to leave immediately and not tell him where she's going. This is urgent. I'm going to be direct. Call the National Domestic Violence Hotline at 1-800-799-7233. Don't tell him you called. They can help you think through whether this is escalating abuse, help you make a safety plan, and connect you with legal resources. You don't have to handle this alone. Comments like those land different when you couldn't unsee it anymore. On to the next one. A few days at her sister's place changed something fundamental. OP came back with an update, and what she wrote there was the moment she stopped looking backward. I left and I'm at my sister's. I finally told someone what happened. I'm at Sarah's and I'm not going back. I've had 5 days to think about this, and I keep coming back to the same thing. I can't unhear what he said. I can't unsee the choice he made. When I finally told Sarah everything, even hearing myself say it out loud made it real in a way it wasn't before. He didn't look confused. He didn't panic. He just said, okay, when I told him I was leaving. Like I was returning something he'd bought. That's what haunts me more than anything, the casual way he accepted my leaving. The safe word violation wasn't a mistake or a moment of passion. It was deliberate, a choice. And the killing thoughts, the way he just mentioned them like they were part of the weather, that wasn't separate from the violation. It was the same pattern, control. He needed to know what he could get away with, how far I would let him push before I broke. And I let him do it until it cost me my sense of safety. I know now I can't go back. I won't. Some comments cut straight to the point. I want to ask you something gently. Before this incident, did Mark ever push back on your other boundaries? Like, if you said you didn't want to do something, did he ever try to convince you anyway, or find ways around your no? Because safe word violations rarely happen out of nowhere. There's usually a pattern of escalating boundary pushing. This is important. Document everything from here on out. If you can, write down what happened with as much detail as you remember. Dates, times, exactly what he said. Keep it somewhere safe, not in your phone or on your computer at home. If this escalates, you'll need that record. OP answered the boundary question immediately. Yes, there had been other moments, smaller ones, where Mark found ways around her no. She'd minimized them then, but now she couldn't minimize anything. What you're seeing in this post is someone who slept next to a stranger and finally recognized him for what he actually was. Not someone having a bad moment. Someone who made calculated choices about her body and safety, and when she tried to stop him, continued anyway. That's not a kink gone wrong. That's not passion. That's control disguised as intimacy. And this is the pattern in stories like these. Someone finally says, I see it now, and they become warnings. Not just for the person living through it, but for anyone watching who thinks it could never happen to them. It usually starts exactly like this. On to the next one. My girlfriend knows things she shouldn't know, and I'm too scared to leave. This story came through 3 days ago as a throwaway on r/relationship advice, and it's one of those posts that sits wrong with you from the opening line. The title alone grabs you. Girlfriend knows things she shouldn't know. Someone's too scared to leave. It's about control, uncanny knowledge, and the kind of fear that builds quietly until you realize you're trapped. What follows is a breakdown of a 2-year relationship that sounds normal at first until it becomes deeply, profoundly wrong. I'm 27, and I've been with my girlfriend for 2 years. I'm writing this as a throwaway because I'm genuinely terrified. My girlfriend has always been different. She predicts what I'm going to say before I say it. Not like she's perceptive, she'll finish my sentences about things that have no reason for her to know. She knows details about my childhood I've never told her, specific embarrassing things. Secrets only my family would know, things I've never discussed with anyone. When I ask how she knows this stuff, she just smiles and changes the subject. I feel like I have zero privacy. Every thought, every plan, she knows about before I do. Over the past year, she's systematically isolated me from my friends. Not aggressively, subtly. One friend at a time, she'd find reasons I shouldn't hang with them. After a while, I just stopped reaching out. Now I don't have anyone except her. Last week, I decided I was done. I packed a bag and left, but when I went to my car, she was standing there. She wasn't surprised or angry. She just said, "I knew you'd get scared and come back." She was right. I did. This is where it gets bad. I found handwritten notes hidden in my work bag. Multiple notebooks. They have dates, weeks ago, months ago, some nearly a year back. Predictions about things I did, things I was going to do. Pages about my childhood. Details that are deeply private. Information I have never shared with her. I'm writing this from my office because I'm afraid to go home. I'm afraid of what else she has written down. I don't know how she knows these things, but she's documenting it, keeping records, and I think I might be in actual danger. The handwritten notes are the moment this transforms from relationship dysfunction into something genuinely unsettling. Because now it's not just a feeling, not just intuition, not just paranoia. Now there's physical evidence. Material proof that someone has knowledge they shouldn't have. And that knowledge is being documented, cataloged, preserved in handwriting. The question becomes not if, but how long has she been doing this? And far more disturbing, what is she planning to do with it? OP goes back to the bags that night, sits down with coffee and reads through every page systematically, chronologically, trying to find a pattern or a clue in the handwriting itself. Maybe he'll find something that makes sense of all this. I went through every single one. There were at least 40 pages, work bag, glove compartment, her purse that she'd left at my place, all in her handwriting, all dated. Some from months ago. One from 8 months back said, "He's going to start noticing the painting isn't straight in the living room. It will bother him on a Tuesday. He won't say anything because he never does, but he'll keep looking at it. By Friday, he'll mention it casually, like it just occurred to him." I flipped through my mental calendar. It happened exactly like that. I genuinely thought I was just being weird and particular. Another from 2 weeks ago. David from work is going to text him Friday about the camping trip. He won't go. He hasn't gone to anything in 4 months. He thinks it's his choice. David did text. I declined automatically. And I sat there staring at the message, thinking, did I choose not to go? I genuinely couldn't remember if I had a reason or if I'd just assumed I didn't want to. The isolation didn't happen like she said. You can't see your friends. It was quieter. A comment. Your friends never really seemed interested in the gaming stuff anyway. A question. Don't you think Jake talks about himself too much? A small thing. Being busy whenever plans came up. Then my friends just stopped calling. Looking at the notes, I could see it mapped out, like a design. She'd written, "By April, they'll have faded mostly. His world will be smaller. He'll feel like he has no one but me." One note from last month. "He'll try to hide the fact that he's scared. He won't tell me what he's scared of. He'll think he's the problem." I read that 3 times. I had not told her I was scared. I didn't even know I was scared until I read the words. And then suddenly I couldn't breathe. I've read these notes 100 times now. The handwriting never changes. The predictions keep coming true. And I can't figure out if I'm going insane or if something genuinely impossible is happening. The more OP stares at the evidence, the more it stops feeling like a mystery to solve and starts feeling like a trap that's already snapped shut. And reading it all, lined up like this, the certainty hits. This isn't guessing. This isn't coincidence. She knew. Somehow, she knows. The more OP tried to make sense of it, the worse it got. The details she knows shouldn't be possible. Not just guesses, specific things. She once casually mentioned a scar on my left shoulder, exactly where I fell off the monkey bars when I was 7. I never told her that. I haven't thought about it in decades. But she described the afternoon, the gravel, how hard I hit, the way my mom cried. How would she know that? Then there's the basement. When I was 9, I hid down there for hours after my parents had a bad fight. I was terrified they were getting divorced. I never told a single person about that day. Not my friends, not even my therapist. But Sarah mentioned it 3 weeks into us dating. She said, "You probably spent a lot of time alone as a kid when things got scary." Just casual, just a comment. But her eyes tracked my reaction too carefully. I keep trying to make the pieces fit. Surveillance? I've searched for cameras, for any device. Nothing. Hacking? I changed my passwords. But she still knew I was thinking about leaving last week before I packed a single thing. Sometimes I think about just asking her, confronting her directly. But what if she already knows I'm thinking about this right now, and asking her will just prove it, make her tighten her grip? I feel paralyzed. Reddit had some immediate takes. The car not starting when you tried to leave is the part that actually chilled me. How does someone predict something like that? Or cause it? That's what keeps me awake. She didn't flinch when I told her the car was dead. She just smiled like she'd been expecting me to come back. I checked the engine myself the next morning. Nothing wrong. No loose battery cables, no visible damage. It started perfectly. This is textbook coercive control. The isolation, the surveillance, the knowing things, it's designed to make you dependent and afraid. Contact a domestic abuse hotline immediately. The car could have been sabotaged manually. The predictions suggest she's installed tracking devices or listening software. Either way, this is severe abuse. You need an escape plan. OP was reading these responses with the kind of dread that only comes from recognizing yourself in a diagnosis. The original post sat for a few days before OP came back with an update, and it's chilling. I finally understand how she knew everything. I'm in more danger now. I tried to leave yesterday. I packed a bag while she was out, left a note on the kitchen counter, and got to my car, hands shaking. I sat in the driver's seat and nothing. The car wouldn't start. Dead battery? Bad starter? Electrical issue? I tried turning the key over and over, each time nothing but silence. After 10 minutes of trying, I was completely panicking. My heart was pounding. I went back inside and she was standing in the doorway, just waiting there like she knew exactly what I was going to do. Not angry, not surprised, just calm. She said, "I knew you'd get scared and come back." Like it was already written, like she'd seen the future and watched me fail before I even tried. This morning, the car started fine. First try, no issues whatsoever. I drove it and everything works perfectly. I've been sitting with this realization all day and it terrifies me. I think she has complete control over my life now. I don't know if she disabled it somehow, if she can predict my every move, or if this is all psychological manipulation. But whatever it is, I'm trapped. And the worst part is she's right. I was too scared to actually go through with it. The comment section lost it immediately. The knowing about your surgery and childhood trauma, that's pure research obsession. She's documented your entire life without you realizing it. This is abuse, not love. Check your phone for spyware apps and tracking software. She could be monitoring your location, emails, everything. Factory reset your phone and change passwords from a different device. Don't tell her. Also check for physical trackers, AirTags, hidden GPS devices in his jacket or wallet. She could have access to his laptop via remote tools. If she's this controlling, she's probably monitoring multiple devices. Comments like these flooded in. Theories about tracking, spyware, hidden GPS devices, psychological manipulation, remote access tools. But OP was already past the point of seeking solutions or understanding the mechanics of it all. He was in it now, fully convinced she had him in some kind of invisible cage that he could see the bars of but couldn't escape from no matter how hard he pulled. Then OP came back with an update that was even more disturbing. I finally understand how she knew everything. I'm in more danger now. I finally get it now. I found her journal hidden in the closet last week, and part of me thinks I was supposed to find it, that this is somehow part of her design. Years of entries, but not diary entries, case files. She's documented everything. My friendships, family conversations, secrets I told people in confidence. But that's not what terrifies me. It's the section she calls probability maps. Pages of predictions written before they came true. She maps out how I'll react in specific situations, what I'll say under pressure, exactly where my breaking points are. And she's been right every single time. Then I got to the recent pages. She calls it containment strategy. She outlines how to keep me here, what she'll do if I escalate, every possible way I might attempt to leave, and her response to each scenario. I'm reading through the defeat she's already planned for me. It's all there. She's already won arguments I haven't had yet. The comment section reacted immediately. You're not crazy, and this isn't paranoia. People in controlling relationships gaslight victims into thinking they're overreacting. Please get help before she escalates further. I know I'm not crazy, but how do I get help without her knowing? She checks my phone, tracks where I go. If I try to call a therapist or crisis line, she'll find out. And after reading those journals, after seeing what she's already calculated, I don't know if getting help is enough. I don't know if I can get out. What gets you about this story is how it ends. OP came here asking if he was paranoid, if he was losing his mind. He got confirmation. Yes, something is deeply wrong. But instead of that being a catalyst, it was acceptance. Every conversation with her now feels like a test he's already failed. He's trapped by someone who speaks his psychology like a language she invented to trap him. Being known that completely, that systematically, losing autonomy over your own thoughts, that's a cage. He walked into it himself, brick by brick, until one day the door closed. That is the last story for today.